circulation. So guys, today's video is going to be all about coronary circulation. So basic information is just basically there's right and left coronary arteries. Right and left coronary arteries, they empty into the aortic arch. The main thing about this is that there's going to be a left ascending, left anterior descending, and there's going to be some circumferent branches as well for the left artery, coronary artery. So then they're going to be opening at the base of the aorta, which is going to be known as the aortic ostia, coronary ostia. And the right coronary artery, it increases its blood flow by 50%. Which offers a right coronary artery a greater flow of 50% for some individuals, which offers a low resistance to distal parts of the vessel, which comprises so the right coronary artery it increases flow by 50%, but the vessels and the capillaries in the distal parts of the vessels, it comprises of small arterioles and capillaries. Capillaries lie adjacent to cardiomyocytes, and this provides a high cardiomyocyte ratio. Of course, this is required for the sufficient amount of oxygen supply, nutritional supply, and taking up of metabolic waste. Supply, well, the supply of this can be done with, it can enter many parts of the ventricles, many parts of the chambers. So the main one I want to talk about is, of course, many capillaries. They join to form the cardiac vein, and they drain into the right atrium. There's going to be Thebasian veins. Thebasian veins are basically open and going to empty they're going to connect, Thebasian veins, they connect, capillaries, and they empty into the chambers. And then there's going to be anterior-sinusoidal vessels, and there's going to be anterior-luminal vessels. Anterior-sinusoidal vessels, they connect arterial chambers. Arterioluminal vessels, they connect small arterioles into the chambers. Now the next thing is going to be the coronary blood flow and pressure. Well, what's this coronary blood flow and pressure? The coronary blood flow and pressure, well, coronary blood flow is going to be 250 milliliters per minute, and the 5% of the cardiac output. Coronary blood flow is going to be supply of oxygen. Coronary blood flow coupled with oxygen demand, heart has a basal oxygen consumption, and the highest 8 ml to minute 100 grams. The highest atrioventricular oxygen difference of a major organ is 10 to 13 milliliters per 100 ml. Whatever the cardiac output is going to be, whatever the oxygen consumption increases, is going to be increased. Whenever oxygen consumption increases, of course, there's going to be an increase in coronary blood flow, and this is proportionate to increased coronary consumption. A good autoregulator is going to be between 260 to 200 mmHgs perfusion pressure due to changes in aortic pressures. And iodine, as we all know, is going to be an important vasodilator of coronary blood flow. It's going to be an active mediator of active hyperemia. What is hyperemia? Well, hyperemia is going to be basically when your blood is going to be blocked, and then there's going to be increased amount of blood flow to that area. Well, that's going to be known as hyperemia, and also a mediator of a regulator of autoregulation, and it serves as a coupler, oxygen consumption and blood flow. And as you already know, nitric oxide is a very important regulator. And now over here we have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Well, what's over here? Well, we need to know the two main amount of receptors. So as you know, sympathetic can cause vasoconstriction and vasodilation. So sympathetic nerves, they innervate the alpha 1 and A1 adrenal receptor, and this A1 adrenal receptor is basically a vasoconstrictor, I believe so. It's a transition vasoconstrictor, so it's brief and short, not very long, whereas the vasodilator is going to be enhanced by metabolite such as adenosine, and which is an active autoregulator and a active regulator of hyperemia. And due to the increased amount of metabolic, mechanical and metabolic activity of the heart, from 1, so the increased amount of metabolic activity and the mechanical activity of the heart is going to be regulated by, of course, our sympathetic and adenosine, and thus sympathetic can cause vasodilation and increased blood flow to match the the metabolic activity, and increase heart rate and contractibility. And there's going to be direct vasoconstriction effects with sympathetic from coronary arteries on coronary arteries. So not only does it innervate the heart, but it can also have direct effect, and these are going to be known as functional sympatholysis. And the parasympathetic is going to be as we know, it's all vasodilation, lowering the heart rate, lowering contractibility. There's going to be vasodilation due to acetylcholine secretion, and in parasympathetic activation, low oxygen to low heart rate. This reduces metabolic mechanism, increases coronary vascular resistance by constricting vessels, and as we already know, by constricting vessels, and as we know from prior information, is that if you look at the vasoconstrictors are going to be vasoconstrictors at A1, and these are going to be mediated, I believe, by the norepinephrine, and the vasodilators, which are going to be beta 1, or beta 1 is going to be done by the acetylcholine. So external forces, well, this happens when there's systole, there's less coronary blood flow. When there's diastole, there is more coronary blood flow. So compression of the systole, contraction. And what's the reason? Well, the main reason is compression. So in compression from doing arterial systole contraction, heart verticals, they really do constrict the coronary flow, but because of extravascular compression in the endocardium, so yeah, and doing tachycardia, this even compresses it even more. This further amount of tachycardia, there's even less available time for coronary flow to occur during diastole, where coronary flow is reserved and reduced. Where this is particularly shifts in patients with coronary heart disease, where coronary reserve is significantly reduced. What is coronary artery disease? Well, coronary artery disease is going to be basically a disease when there is a reduced amount of coronary artery flow. Coronary blood flow becomes reduced, and a factor which is really important for this is going to be substance P, which will accumulate, and this leads to hypoxia and angina, and if it is severe or prolonged, the ischemia leads to myocardial infarction. And please do remember that myocardial infarction is the shortening of the Q wave in the electrocardiogram, and this is going to be, of course, due to insufficient hypoxia. And one important note I want to mention is that myocardial cells, before they die, they basically, to prolong the effect, they release their enzymes, release enzymes known as keratin kinase and something phosphorase, lactase dehydrogenase into the blood, and this increases the serum concentration. So this is a marker of myocardial ischemia. And if the lack of blood flow is due to stone deletion in the coronary artery, this is because of atherosclerosis. And atherosclerosis can be fixed using a bypassing the diseased vessel with a vascular gift, placing a shunt on the vessel to expand the lumen, and using an intracoronary angioplasty balloon to stretch the vessel open. So 3 things to stretch the vessel open. The first one is, of course, use a shunt to improve blood flow. The second one, of course, is going to be put an angioplasty balloon to stretch open the vessel, and the third one is going to be to use a vascular graft by bypassing the diseased one. I think I mentioned that I forgot to mention the myocardial cells they stop contracting before death to prolong their irreversible change. So to prolong their irreversible change, they leak enzymes, and I already mentioned all about that. Now there is thrombosis, so over here they form blood clots, so they're reducing blood flow, and therefore you can use antiplatelets or aspirins. Aspirin, I can't pronounce this, I don't know. Can commonly, and this can prevent blockage. They can prevent the recurrence of clots. If the reduced flow is due to coronary vasospasm, then therefore the coronary vasodilator is given, cardiodilator and calcium channel blockers to reverse and prevent vasospasm. So yeah, that's about it. So why is it going to be giving calcium channel blockers? Because it will it will block excitability, it will block the actual potential from occurring in completing the and nitrodilators dilate the blood vessels, and there's going to be reduced flow during vasospasm to reverse and prevent vasospasm. So guys, that's been it. I hope you guys found this informative, and I hope to see you guys next time. I'll be making very similar content soon.